welcome into another episode of MPT, Morgan's Pop Talks, breaking down the latest in reality TV and pop culture, whether you are listening ad-free and a day early on Patreon, or if you waited patiently until Thursday. So happy to have you here. So much to discuss. Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, Taylor, Frankie, Paul, Dakota, Mortensen, all the drama that's going on with Summer House. Plus, we are going to hear some exclusives from the cast of Hulu's new dating show, Love Overboard. So buckle up and let's get into it. But first, I do kind of want to put a feeler out there. I am thinking about changing the name of the pod. Oh, I know, crazy. It's not that crazy. It's not that crazy. Here's what's happening behind the scenes, okay? As an independent creator, sometimes the things that you post gets picked up by major news publications, whether it be like an Us Weekly or Page Six or whatever. Sometimes it gets picked up by other content creators that like to recap podcast interviews. It's all great, grand, wonderful. They always get the name wrong. Every single time that something of mine gets picked up, you know what it says? It says Morgan Pop Talks. There's an apostrophe S in there because, ownership. It's my show. It's my Pop Talks. Morgan's Pop Talks. And to me, they're totally different. Morgan Pop Talks sounds like my AOL screen name from 2003. Morgan's Pop Talk sounds like a show. You know what I'm saying? So I've been mulling it over because every single time it's wrong. And I'm like, wow, these people are probably reading these articles thinking, who's this 12-year-old talking about Carl Radke not being on In the City? You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking about just going by MPT. And then we can have like a little parentheses, because online it's Morgan P Talks. The thought behind the podcast title was Morgan's Pop Talks. Hey, have you listened to Morgan's Pop Talks? But I get it. It's hard. It's hard to decipher. We can't read full sentences anymore because our brains just don't pay attention that long. So you just want to say Morgan Pop Talks. But again, I'm not 12. So let me know what you think in the comment section of the Patreon, in the DMs, in the comment section on Spotify. Should I just go by MPT? It'd be really hard to mess that up. If you're a major news publication, you know what I'm saying? Anywho, let's get into the Pop 3. These are the biggest headlines in reality TV and pop culture of the week. And we have to kick things off with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni not settling outside of court. So there's a court date looming, and this has been going on for so long. Doesn't it feel like It Ends With Us has quite literally never ended? Never. But Page Six has reported that a last-minute settlement was rejected by both sides in Lively's harassment and retaliation lawsuit. So this is how we got here. Late last week, they went to court again, and a judge tossed 10 out of 13 of Blake Lively's claims out of the lawsuit. So the judge threw out the big ones: the harassment allegations, defamation, conspiracy. In his ruling, he noted some claims could not move forward legally, though he acknowledged that, quote, a whole bunch of little things can add up to a big thing. And the court essentially said that Blake Lively was working as an independent contractor, not an employee, which means legally some of those claims don't apply the same way. Lively's team argued that Justin Baldoni was consistently inappropriate and crossing boundaries with allegations that she was kissed, nuzzled, and touched without consent, while Baldoni's attorneys pushed back, calling the case small potatoes and insisting this is a case about making a movie, one with highly charged romantic and sexual themes. So the three claims that remain against Justin Baldoni are breach of contract, retaliation, and aiding and abetting in retaliation. And Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni will meet again in court next month. It does not surprise me at all that Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively decided not to take a settlement. Each side has their reasons. I mean, Justin Baldoni is coming off this huge high, this huge win, where the judge is tossing out 10 out of 13 of Blake Lively's claims, the momentum certainly feels like it's in his corner. And as for Blake Lively and her team, just based on the statements that they put out after the judge made this ruling, they now have something to prove. Here's what she said. I'm grateful for the court's rulings, which allows the heart of my case to be presented to a jury next month, and for the ability to finally tell my story in full at trial for my own sake, but also for those who don't have the same opportunity to. Many of whom I have known and loved deeply in my life, and the countless I'll never know. She says, the last thing I wanted in my life was a lawsuit, but I brought this case because of the pervasive retaliation I faced and continue to for privately and professionally asking for a safe working environment for myself and others. I hope the court's decision shows others that, as unfathomably painful as it is, you can speak up. Blake said this, don't be distracted by the digital soap opera. The constant packaging of this lawsuit as a celebrity drama is not only irresponsible, but it is by design to keep you from seeing yourself in my story. She says the physical pain from digital violence is very real. It is abuse and it's everywhere, not just in the news, but in your communities and schools. Let's move on to headline number 2, more legal news this time. Taylor, Frankie, Paul, and Dakota Mortensen went to court this week to hash out a number of different things. One about the custody arrangement, and the judge granted Taylor up to 8 hours of supervised weekly visitation with their son Ever under a temporary arrangement lasting until April 30th. Now, up until this point, Dakota had temporary custody of their son Ever following the incident that happened last month. So Taylor is allowed to break up the visits into 2 or 3 hour increments, and the ruling follows Dakota's request to extend a restraining order amid ongoing domestic violence investigations against Taylor, Frankie, Paul, which there is another development to that. I'll get to it in a second. But in these supervised visits, there will be a court-appointed individual, either a paid supervisor or someone screened by the guardian ad litem, which will basically, that person represents the best interest of the child. I learned that from Emily D. Baker, who is my Instagram lawyer. She is very smart and knowledgeable, so go follow her if you don't already. But that's not all. Taylor actually filed a counter temporary restraining order against Dakota just hours before that hearing. So her filing alleges multiple instances of violence from Dakota and reportedly included photos of bruises and text messages where she discusses her injuries. I believe Emily Baker said on her Instagram that there were 8 other instances that were brought up in court this week. So we know about 3 that are potentially being investigated. Per Emily D. Baker, they talked about 8. Okay, so this comes as it was announced that Dakota Mortensen will be edited out of Vanderpump Villa season 3. A lot of fans were talking about this online, if Taylor, Frankie, Paul season of The Bachelorette is going to be pulled from ABC, Dakota Mortensen's cameo on Vanderpump Villa should also be pulled from Hulu. Lisa Vanderpump gave a statement, I believe, to People magazine where she said, yeah, that's what we're doing. It's not that big of a deal because Dakota's storyline wasn't all that interesting anyways, and the story continues without him being involved, which I don't necessarily know if I find it hard to believe. They certainly were going to show all the drama that went down between Dakota on Vanderpump Villa because it was a huge storyline in season 4 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, where Taylor's calling Dakota, asking if he was with anybody at Vanderpump Villa. It was a huge thing. So they definitely were going to show it. But Taylor, Frankie, Paul also posted this week that she was detaching herself from the Mormon church. She posted on her Instagram story, born and raised Mormon, LDS, and I'll always have love and respect towards it. She says, I'll even continue to go with my family at times. With that being said, it's time to detach myself from it. I strongly believe in Christ, God, the Bible, the divine. I believe we are loved, whether we are praying in a church building or from a bathroom floor at home. I've also experienced grace and love from amazing people that aren't sure what they believe, if at all, and that's okay too. Point being, there is more out there to learn, and I'm writing this out as a release. Okay, last but certainly not least, in this week's Pop 3, we have to talk about the Real Housewives of Rhode Island because they have made a huge splash. 2 episodes officially out. I believe the first one came out on Thursday, and then they dropped a second one on Sunday after the Real Housewives of Atlanta, which was also amazing, by the way. But the newest city has officially entered the Bravo sphere, and I'm obsessed. I don't know if you guys watched it, but you definitely should. I gotta say, things are cooking in Rhode Island. Full-time cast members are Alicia Carmody, Rosie DeMare, Ashley Ianconetti, yes, Bachelor Nation crossover, Liz McGraw, Rula Name Pontarelli, Kelsey Swanson, Joe Ellen Tiberi, and friend of Dolores Catania. You guys know, it usually takes me a little bit of time to warm up. My rule, 3 episodes, don't need it. Don't need it. I watched 2 episodes and I was instantly hooked. You know, Andy Cohen did say it was giving old school New Jersey vibes. This was before I had watched it. And I gotta say, I agree. I feel like, you know, there are 2 very different, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. When a new Housewives franchise comes on the scene, they have nothing to lose and everything to prove, right? So they can't really hold back or withhold information. They got to let it all fly. And that's exactly what the Real Housewives of Rhode Island are doing. And you compare it sometimes to a long-standing Housewives franchise like, I don't got to say it, we're all thinking it, right? The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, where, you know, you have these people that have been on the show for so long that they feel entitled to a certain level of privacy. And I'm not here to debate that. Should I though? I don't know. I think under certain circumstances, you're allowed to have your privacy. But at the end of the day, if you sign up to be on a reality TV show, you need to show the reality of your life. And the Real Housewives of Rhode Island are doing that. And let's just call it like it is. If both of these shows, you know, continue on the path that they're on right now, I could see like the Real Housewives of Rhode Island and shows like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City becoming the new top dogs. Whereas historically it's been, you know, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But anyways, 2 episodes in, I'd say Kelsey has the most memorable plot line. Kelsey is 30 years old. She's been dating this man for 10 years who is quite older than her. Rich, honey, lives in this huge mansion, but 5 months out of the year, he's in Miami with his other girlfriend. And she knows about it. And she's like, I got to make up my mind. You know, I'm 30. Is this the life that I want to live in the lap of luxury? Or do I want to break up with this man, you know, find somebody else, get married, have kids, have a more traditional life? But that in-ground pool is going to be hard to give up. Especially after 10 years, she's been living a life of leisure, she says, for the past 10 years. Although we did find out in episode 2 that she actually has another boyfriend too. So we'll see how that goes. Jo Ellen seems like the queen bee. She kind of feels like that person that everybody wants to be friends with and nobody wants to be on her bad side. And Liz is my personal favorite at this moment in time, only 2 episodes in. She's really funny. She is, her and Dolores literally look like sisters. I cannot tell them apart. And of course we have Ashley I, who is a Bachelor Nation alum, making the crossover to Bravo, which Andy said in an interview recently that he doesn't love the whole Bachelor to Bravo thing, but it's happening more frequently. I mean, we have Sally Carson, we have Ashley I, I'm forgetting the third one, but we have Whitney Francois, who is now on In the City, which we learned this week, which we'll get into next. But I think Ashley right now, you know, Ashley's kind of the odd one out because she's not from Rhode Island, not born and raised. I'm kind of wondering if it was like a marketing ploy to get Ashley in the mix so that because we are talking about it, right? Oh, this Bachelor to Bravo person. We're already invested in her relationship. Kind of the same thing with them deciding to put Dolores as a friend of. I don't think they needed it. I think they needed it for the initial interest, people talking about it just like, you know, before it premieres. But after watching the show, I'm like, oh, they can hold their own. I love Dolores, so I'm never complaining, you know, seeing her on the show. But if you haven't watched Rhode Island yet, I highly recommend it. Okay, time for the deep dive. And of course, it's all things Summer House, everything that has happened the past week after West Side Story has dropped. We got the In the City trailer this week. There's a lot to discuss. So let's start with the news headlines. Lindsay Hubbard had a lot to say this past weekend, responding to tips posted by Dumois about when the reunion was filming and stuff that was overheard while Lindsay was at Zero Bond. And this is what Lindsay said in response. She said, "All right, guys, let's just clear this up because I am very triggered by liars at the moment." She said, "I'm not saying Dumois lied. I'm just saying whoever submitted this information should get their facts straight." She says, "I went to Zero Bond yesterday for Easter with Gemma. I met one of my best friends. She had her daughter. I had my daughter. And anyone who knows me knows Gemma. I basically gave birth to my twin, and she is very active, like a rambunctious toddler who does not like to sit down, and she likes to explore and be adventurous and say hi to everyone and meet the Easter Bunny and play and laugh and giggle and run, whatever." She says, "I barely sat down. The 2 times I might have sat down with my best friend asked me, 'Are you excited for the reunion?' I said, 'I'm excited to get it over with.'" She also said that her friend wondered if Wes Wilson had reached out to her. And I said, "No, he has not." And she was surprised by that. So that was the extent of my conversation about this. And then she put in the comments that the reunion films at the end of April. Lindsay has also unfollowed West. She hasn't unfollowed Amanda, although I am wondering if it was an unfollow or if it was a remove a follower from Wes Wilson. We haven't heard a lot from Wes, which I'll get to in a minute, but if you're looking at Dumois, the one thing that was posted about West was that he was not happy with his castmates for piling on, maybe Lindsay being one of them. So that's a clarification point I would like to know. Did Lindsay unfollow or did West remove Lindsay from her followers? Speaking of Lindsay, a moment that broke the internet, this ad between Carl Radke and Lindsay Hubbard. Oh my gosh. If I could go back and watch it again for the first time, I was at a condado eating pineapple guacamole. Like, I remember exactly where I was. Euphoric all around, right? I mean, if you're at condado eating tacos and then you see Lindsay Hubbard and Carl Radke sharing a tissue together, like, wow, best moment ever. So basically, it was an ad for Uber Eats, and the phrase that is making its rounds is "Carl's a mess," which came from Kyle's Man on the Street interview with Adam Glenn from the Hollywood Raw podcast. He was just talking about everybody's reaction, and Kyle says, "Carl's a mess," and that has just caught the internet by storm. Everybody's saying it. I bought the Carl's a mess sweatshirt. Hopefully, if I have it soon, I'll wear it for one of the podcast episodes. Anyways. In the ad, Carl is crying. It says Carl is a mess. He's like blowing his nose in the tissue. Lindsay then hands him a tissue and says, "Is this soft enough for you?" And the caption says, "Can confirm Carl is a mess." I mean, incredible marketing from Uber Eats. I don't know whose idea that was, but give them a raise. We loved it. Found out in the comment section, Lindsay unblocked Carl on Instagram for the moment. And look, if that's the silver lining that we have from this whole mess, that's the silver lining that we have, and we're going to take it. Ciara Miller was on a red carpet this week, and she had some not so subtle shade for Amanda and Wes. So she was interviewing Sydney Sweeney at the Euphoria season 3 premiere. Ciara says to Sydney Sweeney, "If you steal your friend's ex-boyfriend, a la Amanda and Wes," Sydney responds, "It's not good." Ciara then says, "What's the next step? You should get married." Sydney says, "You got to make it worth it. It's too much pain. Otherwise," both say, "You got to make it worth it." And Ciara looks straight into the camera. So, I mean, we don't have to read between the lines with that one. Not subtle at all. And we want to know, where in the world is Wes Wilson? Where in the world is Wes Wilson? Is he in the witness protection program? He's hiding out. He posted one Instagram story over the past weekend with his friend, and we actually barely got any screen time from West in this week's episode of Summer House. And can I just say, I'm having such shell shock when it comes to seeing West on this season of Summer House, because I used to feel so differently about him. I used to, and obviously the emotions are still heightened. I just thought he was the best thing ever. And now I'm having a very different reaction every time I see him on the screen. I'm working through it. I'm working through it. But what everybody is really talking about is Wes Wilson's cameo with Amanda Petula in the new In the City trailer. Summer House fans have been excited for In the City, but this scandal obviously has put a bit of a damper on it because we all thought that Kyle and Amanda was going to be the central piece of the show, the base, right? The connector. After watching the trailer, I actually think that it's going to be Lindsay that takes that role. But honestly, there's a lot going on besides the Kyle and Amanda of it all. But anyways, we get this moment where Amanda says to Wes, "Hey, cutie." And Wes says back, "Hey." I don't even want to say it, Mandy. And we all died a little on the inside that day, right? And then they hug, and then we spiral. And the editors really knew what they were doing by putting that 5 seconds into the trailer, because here we are. I don't think Wes Wilson is going to be on In the City that much. I just think they needed to rile us up once again, and we've been riled. So the official cast for In the City is Lindsay, Kyle, and Amanda. We already knew that. Danielle Oliveira is making a comeback with her boyfriend, Eon Heavey. Andrea Denver. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Oh, I could not be happier that Andrea Denver is coming back to Bravo with his wife, Lexi Sundin. We have Nick Barber and Yvonne Nager. Yvonne is Lindsay's longtime BFF. Georgina Furzil, Whitney Franzway, Bachelor Girly, Kenny Martin, Gavin Mosley, and Katie Arundel, who I believe is Amanda's best friend. 14 people. So like I said, Yvonne is Lindsay's best friend. Whitney was on Nick Vial's season of The Bachelor. She was on Bachelor in Paradise. She dated Connor Saley for a little bit of time, but I guess now she's dating Kenny, I think. I don't know. So let's talk about Carl Radke not being in the city. I posted a clip from my podcast back in January with him, which is still on the feed now. So you want to go listen to it, now's your chance. But he talks about, you'll be seeing a glimpse of me. But essentially they decided that I wasn't a fit for In the City because it's about the next chapter, marriage, babies, living in Manhattan. There was a lot of reaction to Carl not being on In the City. In my comment section, some people were saying Carl definitely should be on the show. So bizarre he wasn't. Another posted, "Why can't the next chapter still be someone who is single?" That was not a good decision on their part. And then this one I really agree with. He should be on the show because it should be for the OGs who are aging out of Summer House. The fans want Carl. That's where I land. I wanted this to be the Big Three 2.0, Carl, Lindsay, Kyle. You can't split up the Big Three because their stories are so intertwined with each other. They have such a long personal history with one another. And I think it would have been fun to have single Carl in the mix, okay? He's been in the mix. Put him in the mix of In the City. Like, I want to see other cast members trying to set Carl up. I want to see his business venture with Soft Bar, while also being there for Kyle during the fallout of his and Amanda's breakup. I mean, we even got Carl saying something similar on this week's episode of Summer House, where it's like, things are starting to fall apart for Kyle. And if he doesn't have me, like, who else does he have? I don't know how many friends Kyle has, but I do know that Carl has been a ride or die for Kyle in his corner. So the fact that we're not going to see that dynamic when Amanda and Kyle essentially break up on In the City is wild to me. I would imagine that Carl would be one of the most supportive people in Kyle's corner when that happened in real time. Now, who knows? I mean, if they have a season 2, maybe Carl will be in the mix. Maybe he'll be like the Tom Schwartz I saw Ryan Bailey say in my comment section. But I don't know. I don't want to call it the Carl erasure, because who knows? Maybe they were going to keep him on Summer House as well, because you also don't want to take away a Big Three from a show like Summer House. You want some familiarity there. And especially now, Gibson and I have talked about this a lot. If you guys listen to our joint pods, how the next Big Three was supposed to be Wes, Ciara, and Jesse. And they were kind of supposed to lead the charge in the new era of Summer House. But obviously not with Ciara and Wes now. So, oh gosh, it's just a huge mess. But I think we can all agree long live King Carl, justice for Carl Radke. All right, for final thoughts this week, I sat down with multiple cast members from Hulu's new hit dating show, Love Overboard. Now, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. This was a press junket. If you don't know what a press junket is, it's very fast paced, it's very quick moving. They say you have 10 minutes, get everything you need to do, and they give you like five people in the Zoom, crazy insanity. But it was a lot of fun. It was really nerve wracking, I will say. But I did two separate interviews, one with Tim and James, which you will hear first. And then I did a second one with five of the ladies from Love Overboard. So take a listen. There's a huge twist in this show that I love. You think you're going on a luxury yacht to find love, and you quickly realize that that's not the full story. So, what was your immediate reaction when they told you, hey, by the way, some of you are actually going to be working for us while we find love?
It was definitely a surprise because obviously everything's overstim from going from a hotel room isolated to like, all right, now you're on the show. And you're like, oh, what? And like everything's coming fast paced and like they're like all these twists and turns are happening so quick so that you can't even like really develop how to feel because you're like, now I gotta clean. Like if I didn't match up with the people on the front, now I gotta go clean the bathrooms and clean up after people. You're like, okay, like this is all too fast and too crazy. But obviously that's a part of the show. And I'm like, damn, cleaning up after people that I don't want to clean up after is insane to me, but obviously it's part of it. And I'm like, damn, it can only get worse from here.
Well, you actually were tasked with breaking up a couple in the first episode. You went for Lexi. Were you nervous doing that, or were you ready to just fully commit to the move?
I will say, obviously, I'm in my head, I'm nervous about it, but at the same time, I'm like, I have to do everything I can. I'm not gonna have no regrets because like this might be my last day here. So I'm not gonna be like, oh, I should have done it this way. So I'm putting my all into the line. And she was from day one like the most gorgeous girl on the yacht. So I was like, if I lose going after the best girl on this yacht, like I can say like I tried rather than be like I settled or anything like that. So I took the risk. Part of me is like, damn, you might get eliminated, but if this is your last time on the boat, at least you can say you put your all into it.
And were you worried about how that would be with the guy who was in the couple with Lexi?
No, because I mean, I'm not worried about the guy. I'm not dating the guy. So like he has no like factor into like me and the girl. I think it was more just like we're both fresh and it's day one. And especially with all the other couples, like especially with Tim, and like we all like came onto the boat, me, Tim, and Cry together. So we're already like, all right, we gotta go after whoever we want. We're not worried about each other. Like we're not gonna get in each other's way, but like we gotta go after whatever we like, no matter what.
You had the opposite experience, Tim, where you're up top and people are going to come steal your girl. How do you mentally prepare for knowing that someone's about to come step on your toes?
I mean, it's hard to like mentally prepare, but I think as long as you're just like continuing to build a strong relationship and connection with the person that you're with, like that's all you can really do. But like everything's fair game on that boat. Like even if someone's coming to steal the girl that I'm with on the top side, like there could be a girl on the downside that I'm interested in, and she might have a connection down there that I'm trying to break up. So even though there's like you're coupled up on the top side, there were a lot of couples on the downside that had their own thing going on. So it was back and forth.
And you obviously wanted to stay on the top deck. I mean, was there any strategy in that, or were you just going to let it unfold the way it was supposed to?
I mean, I was just gonna let it unfold the way it was supposed to, because what I wanted was just like to hopefully find somebody that I could truly build a connection with and like see a potential future with. And I felt like if that actually happened and fell into place, then everything else was gonna work itself out.
When you first heard the words plank ceremony, you thought what?
I honestly was like scared because I'm scared of heights as it is, and I'm like a plank. And obviously, when you think of plank, you're like that is literally like standing over the side of the ocean, like you're gonna fall. I was really scared because I'm like, I have to stand up there, and once you're up there, it's kind of like wobbles, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I might fall before it even like pulls the trigger of me getting eliminated.
I don't know. I think it was like a little bit of like wishful thinking and like optimistic. I'm like, oh, plank ceremony. I'm like, it kind of like ceremony sounds like it could like maybe be good. I don't know. Like I have no idea what to expect. And then when it was the first plank ceremony with Reese, James, and Lexi, I was like, oh, like this is how people get voted off. And I'm terrified of heights too. So being up on that plank was like the worst experience.
Yeah, James, you were the first one up on that plank along with Reese. What is going through your mind in that moment? Were you secure in your date with Lexi to feel confident enough that you weren't going in the Mediterranean Sea that day?
Part of me was confident, but obviously practicing my speech over and over and then getting up there in front of like my whole castmates and like I'm scared and I'm like, damn, I have to look her in her face and like tell her the speech I practiced that I'm already forgetting because I'm worried about falling in this ocean right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's all this emotion going on. This is the first plank ever, so we didn't even know this was gonna happen. So until they're like, oh, someone's getting eliminated, someone's gonna fall off, you're like, oh, and I have to tell this girl how I feel about her, and I'm scared. Like I'm not gonna lie, like my stomach hurts. I'm scared of heights. Like there's so much going through my head, and I have to tell this speech of like why I want to be with this girl, and I'm like I can't even think straight right now.
You took the risk, you got the girl, and now you're on the top side and you don't want to go back on the downside. So,
Mhm.
how do you move after that?
I mean, at that point, I'm kind of like there's so much emotion going on because I'm obviously want this person, and there was a risk and then the reward to it, and really thinking about like, damn, we have to build this relationship together, and there might be other people coming for us because they want this top side spot, and it's just a lot because we have to build this relationship together and really start dating, like, and really getting to know each other. Along with you don't know people's intention on the on the boat and like the downside. You don't know if they're gonna come to like try to test you, or if someone else wants Lexi. So there was a lot of emotion and trying to like really like be like, damn, what's our next move? But it was more focusing on just like that moment of okay, this is next. What's next for us? Like taking every challenge as it comes.
And Tim, was there ever a moment, because you guys learn eventually that only one couple is going to win. So was there ever a moment where, you kind of have to, yes, still pursue love and look for love, but also think about the end game? And if so, what was that moment for you?
I think again, like if for me, like if I ended up finding, like my mindset was always just like trying to find somebody that I could actually build a true relationship with, even like not even necessarily on the boat, but off the boat in real life. And I felt like if that was true and like that was a legitimate connection and it was real, then obviously you're gonna have a good chance at winning the whole thing. But like to me, if I found that person, I didn't really care about winning or not at that point.
To wrap it up with both of you, an easy one, but one single word to describe your overall Love Overboard experience, what would it be?
Insanity.
Damn. I would say memorable.
Well, Tim, James, thank you so much for joining MPT. You guys make sure you go check out Love Overboard streaming on Hulu now. It is quite the ride. You guys will not be disappointed. And thanks again, you guys, for joining MPT.
Thank you.
Thanks, Morgan.
I am here with Gia, Bella, Lo, and Lexi from Love Overboard. I feel like I'm in, do you guys remember the girls' room on the Amanda show?
Girlfriend.
Yeah. That's what I feel like right now.
Gia's like 23. She's like, what is that?
I like, what the hell are you guys on about?
Well, Gia, let's get into it. So there's a huge twist in this new reality dating show, but you don't find out about this twist until you get onto the yacht. So I want to know, what did you think you were getting yourself into, Gia?
I thought that I was going to have hot girl summer on a super yacht in Malta with a bunch of beautiful people. And I was so excited to soak up the European like sun and just be on the water. And then all of a sudden we got hit with the twist that half of us were basically going to be downside, cleaning up after everyone else. And I initially started on the downside. So you could imagine my shock when I realized there was no sunlight to be seen. We literally had like these uniforms that actually did not fit right. They weren't supposed to be like that. And then we were having to do all these chores. It was definitely a pivot that I did not think I was going to have to encounter.
Yeah, Bella, you had quite the reaction to finding out that you were a downsider. So tell me, what was going through your head in that moment?
I had been working in the hospitality industry the whole time prior to me like going on the show. Like my job during that time, I was a, line dancing girl, but I also was a bottle girl. So like I was so used to like picking up after people. And then I was like promised this like fantasy of like maybe never doing that again and maybe finding the love of my life and hopefully he has a great job and I, wouldn't have to work. But then I, got the twist and I was like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing, except for me, right? Like, I can't be involved in this downside. I also just, like, I'm a little competitive. And so I was, like, so sad that it felt like I already lost. Like, I'm starting off, like, a loser. And so it was just pretty much about trying to pivot and then see how I can maybe play the game a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Which that brings me to being in one of the first, I guess you could say, love triangles was with you, Lo, and David. So, Lo, I want to know, because you had the opposite experience. You were on the top side. How did you navigate knowing Bella was going to try to come steal your man while not getting too messy with each other?
Well, the funniest part is watching that back, I honestly didn't even really remember that interaction like that much. It was just like, I'm a very like facetious, cheeky person. I think I said something like, I think you'd rather die. Like, I'm literally just being funny, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, I liked Bella from the jump, even though I saw a little bit of her craziness, and I've gotten to know her so much better now. But it was just really entertaining. And I mean, it's hard to give David like any kudos at all, but the way that he just like gently like let her down and was so respectful about it, that was actually like kind of cool to watch. I was like, maybe he's not complete trash. Just, you know.
Lexi, you actually were the first person to get matched in Toast or Tossed. How relieved were you in that moment?
I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's always good when the person you're going for is also going for you. So, yeah, I mean, we toasted, we had shared a quick kiss, and I got to spend the rest of the time getting to know him. But ultimately, my date was just a little hot and heavier.
Which is interesting because you initially were put off to him based on, one comment that he made early on. Tell me, what was it that changed your mind about James?
No, I think I got to see past that. I think I'm also one of those people that you kind of see something and you think that's it, but once you get to know me better, you realize, oh wow, there's so much depth to her. So I kind of felt that way about James. Like on the surface, yeah, you said some dumb shit. I say stupid stuff all the time, and don't get me wrong, crazy comment. But ultimately, like I did see past that. We got to sit down, talk about our families, like really get to know each other, and I just felt like we had a stronger connection.
How did it feel? And this is a question for everyone, so feel free to chime in. But how did you guys feel making some of these guys walk the plank?
They needed it. They needed it.
And then vice versa. I mean, sometimes you guys were up there. I imagine that would be terrifying.
Unless you're up there for 45 minutes, the terror kind of gradually wears off. After a while, you're just hungry and knees start buckling. Yeah, I didn't feel any fear. I was so ready for it to be over, so over it. Like, ugh.
Was there a moment in time where, because you guys end up, it's finding love, but it's also competition, and you realize that there's only one person that is going to win. Was there ever a moment where you were like, oh, I need to start being a little bit more strategic, or were you strictly just there to find love?
I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about it being season 1 is we don't get to watch it and be strategizing like, oh my gosh, this is what's going to get me far. This is what we need to do. Like we come in there and every day they're just like, we don't know. And we're just kind of like going with the flow every day. So we don't know if love's going to help. We don't know if winning challenges are going to help. We don't know, if mingling with everybody is what's going to get us to the end. And I think that's the beauty of it is we all just kind of go through the journey and figure out like, whatever works, it happens. And I think we all just kind of stay true to ourselves. And I mean, there were twists, turns. I kind of at one point thought, okay, maybe we're going to plank till the end. Like until the last person up there is just plank, but they kept changing it. And I think that kept it really fun.
And this is for any of you. Is there a moment looking back where you realize that it stopped being about finding love and being a game and you felt like it started to feel personal? Did anybody have that experience?
I think yeah.
I think we all did. I feel like for me, it's like, I feel like the first moment that I realized how real this was and how deeply feelings were involved was when I had a love triangle with Bo and Tim, because having like two men that are so amazing that I care about deeply standing up on that plank, that was so hard. And for people watching, it must seem so quick, like, okay, how could you like gain feelings for them so quickly? But time goes by so fast. Like when you're
I guess fast. And so it feels like what's a week is a month. And so I truly did grow feelings for them. So then the fact that I had to decide was like horrible. And so that is definitely when I realized, okay, it's real.
You also spent a lot of time, like you were downside with Bo a lot. And then when you had an opportunity to talk to Tim, you were talking to Tim. So it's like,
Exactly.
Also personal, like what Gia was saying, you guys, I hope you can feel the tension and everything when you see this plank ceremony. But like, even for us watching, like I might even have cried when Bo got planked. Like, it's like, we're all this unit, and it sucks when one person's removed and it's kind of unpredictable. Like, do they come back? Are they just going home? We're never going to see them again. Like, so it was really hard, even just watching other plank ceremonies. Like that was very, it was touching. It was emotional. And for Gia, like it was a really hard decision because like both guys are literally.
they were great. It's not like, it wasn't like he's mean. Like
it was hard. It was hard.
A lot easier if one of them sucked.
Yeah, I wish one of them sucked.
Both hot, both so sweet. Like it's just those are the type of problems that are good problems to have.
And can you just tell me what it meant to have, strong supportive females around you guys throughout the experience and what the friendships meant to you?
Hearing how everyone and seeing how everyone like reacted after I got planked, like that was just like the most heartwarming thing. But I think that people need to understand, of course, like it was my girls having my back, but also my girls just feeling really like hurt and disappointed that a relationship that they saw and believed in was able to just be turned upside down like that. So even though I wasn't there, I was like in the hotel room, like ordering takeout and like crying, talking to my mom. My girls like held it down on the boat, and my guys did too. People that I'm good friends with that are, guys too. So it like really meant a lot. And sometimes you can come on these shows and everyone's so catty towards each other and fighting, but we like really didn't have like too much of that. It was just a little bit of stir craziness that got to people like Bella, you and Sade, and just close quarters.
I was going to say, Bella's shaking her head over there.
Yeah, Bella's like,
I'm like, what? No, like.
You had a different experience than me though. Like you should talk about it.
Well, I honestly feel like at first I was just like, oh my God, these are nothing like my girls back home. Like, no shade, because still love y'all. But like my girls back home are just inherently different. And so I almost had like a culture shock there, because I was like expecting this like first day, like best friend, sister loyalty when they don't know me. And also like, they're not like, people are still playing a game as well. And so I think I just had to quickly adjust with that. But towards the end, like, I've gotten to know everybody, and I couldn't be more like glad to have a relationship with some of these girls. But, on top of that, I think just recognizing that like not everybody is going to be your sis, like let you down. I grew up with two older sisters that are the same age. So I had that as a perspective, like to model my friendships after. And I think on the show, like, friendships kind of made me more emotional than any type of possible or potential relationship I could have had.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes, you go on these shows to find love, but you leave with girlfriends, and that's more important half the time anyways. So thank you guys so much for joining MPT today. I know you got to run, but congratulations on the season. It was amazing. So you have a lot to be proud of.
Thank
you.
All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of MPT. If you have not left a review, a little 5-star boop boop, a little lovey like assist, please do so. If you want a bonus episode every single week, if you want this episode ad-free and a day early, make sure you're subscribed to the Patreon, patreon.com/MorgansPopTalks. I'll see you there. And if not, I'll see you next week. And as always, love you like a sis.